Hey everybody, I'm Chris Fafalius, and I'm the producer of Krista Makes a Podcast and the host of the One Hit Thunder podcast.
And I'm Matt Kelly, host of Horror Movie Night and the producer / the head of content for the Geekscape Podcasting Network.
Between the two of us, we have, believe it or not, 25 years of podcasting experience, and we want to help you start your own podcast.
We know podcasting, and we want to share that knowledge with you.
So whether you're new to podcasting or you want some feedback on your currently active podcast, we want to help.
Or perhaps you're just overwhelmed with all of the editing work. Well, we can help you with that also.
You can check out our website at weknowpodcasting.com for more information.
We're excited to help your podcasting dreams become a reality.
Well, there's a party each and every year on Christmas Eve, where the fun and cocktail shrimp don't seem to end. Clark and Ralphie taking turns on the TV screen, laughing, singing, yelling with all of our friends. Well, it's Christmas, and let the parties go spread the holiday cheer, 'cause it's Christmas. Oh, it's the best time of the year. Let's go fake reindeer with Santa.
Hey, Dylan.
Hey, Matt.
So let's talk about a show that no one remembers.
Dude, talk about a show that I've never even heard of. I didn't know this existed. When you said, we're going to watch Great News Christmas episode, yada, 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 I was like, was this some like show from the 80s that I just
Like
missed?
3 years ago.
I'm like, okay. So I'm looking it up, and it was actually right before you pulled up to my house that I had watched it. I'm like, this thing's on Netflix. 2017 to 2018. What the hell? What even is this? What did I miss? And I put it on, and instantly, as soon as I start watching it, actually, I pull up the menu, and in one of the thumbnails is Tina Fey sitting
Yeah.
at the table, and I'm like, okay, all right, but that's not the episode we watched. So I'm like, all right, let me click on this episode, and as soon as it starts, I'm like, someone made a not so good 30 Rock.
Yeah. So here's my story of Great News.
Yeah, go for it.
So we're going to travel back about 4 years ago. We're going to travel back to the year 2017 specifically. October, it was probably in the summer. So July, August 2017.
So right around the time we start getting ready for Halloween,
Yeah.
July and August.
Yeah. I meet a woman on the internet and I hit it off and we're talking a whole bunch. Only downside with this woman from the internet is that she lives in Salt Lake City, Utah.
I was gonna say, is this gonna have like a dark turn?
No,
Okay, cool.
a little bit. So we're talking.
It was actually Jimmy up the road.
Yeah, no, so we're talking a whole bunch. We're like, literally, I'm like, this person is amazing.
Yeah, awesome.
So I was like, I'm going to come out and visit you. Like,
Cool.
I'm going to, for my birthday, for October, I'm going to travel to Salt Lake City for a weekend, and we're going to hang out.
I'm also gonna bring a guest so you don't murder me.
No. I was like, let's just do
You're
this.
going for it, dude.
So I buy the tickets. I book the hotel. We make all these plans. Like, oh, we're going to hit this water park. We're going to do this thing. Like, we have all these
Yeah.
plans. 2 weeks beforehand, she goes, so I just met a guy. He doesn't like the idea that I'm about to meet up with you, so I have to cancel. And I was like, you know what?
Oof.
Fuck it. I bought tickets, and I like posted on like the Horror Movie Night page and was like, hey, do we have any listeners that live in Salt Lake City? I'm going to be there this weekend. And there's like 1 or 2 people that are like, hey, I live out there. I'm like, let's meet up. We'll grab coffee. We'll do lunch, whatever. So I'm like, I'm going to Salt Lake City.
Yeah,
I'm going to have
live your
a
life.
weekend. I'm going to have a weekend. So I'm on this plane, and I've never seen this before, nor have I seen it after. But the plane had a sponsorship from NBC where they were just playing NBC shows on the TV screens the whole time.
If you know anything about Matt or I, this sounds like an amazing flight.
So it gets crazier. I always have an iPod set with like exactly the music that I want to be listening to
Yeah.
at that point. So I have my headphones on, but I'm looking at the TV and I'm watching an episode of Great News with no audio.
Are the captions on?
The captions are on, so I'm like,
Okay,
kind of,
all right.
I'm
So you
kind
can
of
follow
following
along a little
and I'm
bit.
like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I was like, kind of laughing just reading the subtitles. So I get to Salt Lake City,
Yeah.
downpour city for the entire weekend.
Oh, shit.
So I can't even go and do anything. So I'm in the hotel room and I binged the entire series of Great News on Hulu because I'm like, that show seemed funny. I binged the whole first season, watched the second season as it aired, and then it was canceled. But that's the only reason I even know this show existed is because of a plane flight that I took to Salt Lake City. And here's the reference point for this. I remember that the Sunday there was a pay-per-view that Sunday. So I ordered a pizza to be delivered to my hotel room, and I just laid in my hotel room and watched the wrestling pay-per-view. And I want to say it was Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, around October. That sounds about right.
But it was whatever the pay-per-view was where we were supposed to get Sister Abigail versus the Pumpkin King. And then, like, both of them got, like, the mumps or something, or Bray Wyatt got sick.
I remember this
vaguely. And then it became this amazing, it was Finn Balor versus AJ Styles, and it was like a show-stoppingly great match.
Yeah.
I remember nothing else except for we were about to get what was going to absolutely be a bad match that ruined the mystique of two great characters.
Yeah.
And instead, because of like a virus outbreak backstage that like took Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns and a bunch of other people like out on sick leave, we got like this unexpected amazing match in its place.
It's amazing to me that you can remember stuff like that. Because as big of a wrestling fan as I am, and I have taken a step back since the pandemic.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard for me to watch.
That I
that.
remember seeing the build to that and being like, this is going to be terrible.
Yeah. I can't tell you, like, pay-per-view to pay-per-view what's happened probably in the past 5 years.
Yeah. Also was where I went and saw the greatest haunted attraction I've ever been to, which is Nightmare at 13th Street.
Ooh.
It's really good. It's really impressive. But all of that to say that I watched this show, Great News. The concept of the show is that this girl gets a job working for this news station, and her mom, who is a total empty nester, decides to take an internship working with her at the news station because she just can't stand to not be around her baby girl.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the setup. Like you said, it's 30 Rock, but not as good. But there are some really funny lines. Like, it's definitely from the same minds that wrote the ridiculous dialogue that we know 30 Rock for.
Yeah, and there are cutaways, and just like 30 Rock, just like Scrubs, a lot of what happens in the show, the plot, is kind of moved forward with those brief cutaways to past things that have happened, some off-the-wall things that have happened. I mean, we even open up with Carol, who's the older mother, like going through the early Christmases.
Which is the number one reason why I wanted to pick this episode.
Yeah, okay.
Because I watched this episode this past Christmas.
Okay.
I was re-binging the show as I was trying to get through like the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I just happened to get to this episode I think it was right after we had recorded our Christmas stuff. So maybe it was like early January.
Okay.
And it was so much how my mom is at Christmas time.
Really?
Just because she's very like particular about like all of the Christmas decorations have to be in the exact right spot, and it has to like be this, that, and the other thing. So this stuff where she's just like, David, get the saran wrap to protect the tree. Or when she's like, I'd like to have blah, blah, blah for breakfast. And she's like, well, the dinner table is set, so we can't eat there for the next 5 days.
I mean, that takes me back to not because of like the proper setup or anything, but like Thanksgiving and Christmas, not so much Christmas, and more took me back to Thanksgiving where like you didn't eat anything all day.
No. You starved yourself.
You starved until dinner time. Christmas, a little different. We'll get into that.
You can do a Christmas
in a little
breakfast
bit,
or something like that. But Thanksgiving, there is no Thanksgiving breakfast. You
No.
hold on until about 3 or 4 in the afternoon.
Exactly. And the whole house smells like delicious
Oh, God.
food.
There was family fights at Thanksgiving time once everyone had a driver's license, because I'm kind of like my mom in the sense of that it's like, no, like mom's working real hard in the kitchen. You got to be hungry so that you eat a lot of that food because we don't want to have leftovers. But like my brother would just be like, fuck this, I'm going to Burger King. And he would just like go to Burger King and get like a double cheeseburger. And then I'm sitting there starving watching him eat a double cheeseburger. And I'm just like, oh God, I could really go for that burger. Like, it just is very aggressive. It was a bad time. But yeah, so that's the setup. We see that Carol is insane about Christmas time. And now everyone has to do Christmas at the news station, which her daughter loves this information. It means that she doesn't get caught up in the insanity that is Carol's Christmas celebration. except for the fact that her boss says, well, you can bring a little bit of Christmas into this place, which is just
The worst thing he could have done.
worst thing he could have done, because now Carol is like, oh, work doesn't count today. It is Christmas time, which I think you and I can kind of relate to.
Yeah, I relate to. Here's the thing that I don't relate to, and I'm skipping a little bit, and what doesn't make sense to me, and maybe you could clarify this for me a little bit, because you've seen this. This is literally the only episode of Great News I've watched. How does she not know what Christmas Carol is?
Yeah.
Like, this person who absolutely loves Christmas. I understand she just fell off the balcony, but she pops back up. I mean, her ghost pops back up and is like, I'm fine. I was just doing whatever. But she doesn't know what Christmas.
She's like, oh, this is that Christmas. The short version is just the setup to the joke of someone saying Carol and her being like, yes, that's my name.
Yeah.
I think also from a character standpoint, you could say that like she doesn't actually care about that element of Christmas. Like for her, Christmas isn't about the specials and the books and stuff. It's about forcing the family to have a good time, forced fun, mandatory fun with the family.
Toxic positivity.
Yeah. So there are a couple quotes that I wrote down that I want to talk about. So the best part of this entire episode, in my opinion, is it Fred Willard? It's Fred Willard who plays the head anchor.
It is not. I think Fred Willard had passed on at this point, didn't he?
No, Fred Willard died this past year.
Past year?
It's the other guy from all of those movies then.
Yeah.
I always blank
the
on
guy
his name.
from
like he's in Pitch Perfect and Nail.
and he's in Community. I just watched that Community episode last night. The
he
Seize
plays
the
like,
Day guy.
Yeah, the Seize the Day guy. I can never remember his name, but he's very Fred Willard-esque.
I was actually thinking here right before we recorded, I was like, it's the not Fred Willard guy.
Yeah, they are very similar. They do a lot of the same movies together. His storyline is that his son Petey is coming for Christmas, and he has no desire to hang out with his son Petey.
Yes, John Michael Higgins. By the way.
John Michael Higgins. Thank you. And his son Petey is played by one of the guys from Mad TV.
Yeah.
Every piece of this story made me laugh. Like from him just being like, he's trying to get someone to go pick up his kid, and he's like, you get to drive my car. And he's like going through all this stuff, and he goes, a broken heating steering wheel, so it gets really hot.
Yeah.
But then you find out that Petey is like a 40-something-year-old man who, like, she's like, your daddy said you'd be wearing a dinosaur jacket, and he's wearing a leather jacket that says Chugosaurus Rex. But she's forced to babysit this man who is older than her.
Yes.
And he's there promoting dude wine for dudes.
Yeah.
But there are so many great lines involving him. And one of the ones that made me laugh out loud, she's like trying to avoid Carol. And she's like, I don't even want to talk about this. I want to hear more about his story of his strategy for playing craps. She's like, well, actually, it was a strategy for taking craps. Like, he's just such a disgusting man-child. And then there's this whole build-up to where the dad is showing her all of the things that he kept that he's so proud of Petey for. And
I love
like,
the first prize winning science project.
Yeah, he beat up that nerd and took the ribbon.
And he took it and turned it into a bong.
So it's all this stuff, but at the very end, he's looking at this card that is a child's drawing of a father and son stick figure, and then he closes the card and says Petey, age 39 on the back of the card. Like, it is every piece of that storyline is brilliantly executed. When they get into their fighting, and he's like, I'm gonna punch, and he's like, block. He's like, how did you know that I was about to throw that punch that I announced? And they start to hug.
Yes.
And
it's like a head kiss fight.
Yeah, they're hugging each other, but they're still acting like they're fighting. And Petey says, I'm trying to fight it off, but the only way that I can is to retaliate with the same attack. And he hugs him back. Like that, like I would just rewatch this for the Petey and his dad's story. It's so fucking funny. The Carol stuff is whatever. Like the Christmas Carol stuff isn't that great.
It's not. God, the Ace Ventura reference was really weird.
I didn't even remember it.
So the one guy from Epic Movie, or was it Date Movie that he was in, or was it both of them?
Possibly
Adam
both.
Campbell.
Okay.
His face weirds me out.
The British guy.
Yeah, the British guy. Basically says the Muppets did a good one, Ace Ventura did a bad one when referencing a Christmas Carol. And I'm like, Ace Ventura did a Christmas Carol, and then it flooded into my head that at one point there was an Ace Ventura cartoon.
Yeah.
And like none of this rung a
Did we
bell.
talk about it already on the podcast? How weird it was that at one point Jim Carrey had 3 cartoons based on 3 movies.
You
airing
brought that
all
up.
at
I do
once?
remember
Yeah.
having that conversation.
Because it was
at one
Ace
point.
Ventura the cartoon, The Mask of the cartoon, and Dumb and Dumber the cartoon. All were on television simultaneously. They were all bad. Side note.
And that's kind of like I miss that. Not Jim Carrey cartoons, whatever. But I miss where you had a successful movie franchise,
And everybody was
we're
like,
gonna turn it into a cartoon.
yeah, let's make it a Saturday morning cartoon. Why the fuck
Beetlejuice
not?
cartoon, the bad Godzilla movie,
Yeah.
cartoon.
Toxic Crusaders,
Oh my god,
Rambo, RoboCop. They all had cartoons.
Yeah,
It was ridiculous.
It was like 80s and 90s. I guess now, like, sorry to take it back to Marvel. We talk about that in another
Yeah.
episode, but they've kind of got the Disney thing on their side, so they do the
But
cartoons.
that's not.
But other than
that's
that,
not even close to the same. Yeah.
exactly. But I kind of miss that.
I do. There is a good line. It's a very 30 Rock line, but I think the delivery is botched
Yeah.
a little bit. Where they keep referring to the British guy as an elf. They're like, "Oh, my little elf."
Yeah.
And at one point he goes, "I made cookies in a tree one time."
And he is very elf-like.
He is.
He has a very distinct face and hair.
Yeah.
Like it's
I heard
very
it,
distinct.
Mumsy.
It is so odd to me. But that first thing, like I saw him and he's like, he's in those parody movies,
Yeah.
the bad ones.
The cast of the show is really, really funny. Like the side characters. Is it not Horatio Sands? Who is? You know what I'm talking about?
I do know who you're talking
because
about.
she says something where she's like, and you can be
Yeah,
Santa.
it's Horatio Sands.
Yeah, she's like, you can be Santa because he's like,
I
you
know-
know
I know
why.
why.
I know why, and I've been trying to lose weight. and
Yeah,
that's
I've been on
very
Weight
hurtful.
Watchers for a year, and that's very hurtful. Dude, it took me like 3/4 of the way through the episode until I went and Taylor was sitting next to me, and I went, "That's Nicole Richie."
Yeah,
I didn't even realize
she is
it.
unreasonably good in this show.
And that's why I think I didn't know that it was Nicole Richie.
Yeah, she's so funny.
And I
Like,
felt bad feeling that way because, like, what do we know Nicole Richie from? I know her from the show she was on with Paris Hilton.
yeah,
back
I
in
know her
day.
from the
That's
real
it.
life with Paris and
Yeah.
Nicole, and that she like married the lead singer of Good Charlotte, and that's like
That's
about
right,
as
she
far
did.
as I know.
Yep.
But apparently, I mean, I hear that Paris Hilton's not nearly as bad of a person as that show made her out to be, but like
No.
it seems like Nicole Richie did a lot to like overcome
Yeah.
the stigma of that. Like when you read about her, it's like she's donating to these charities. Like she's like a very giving person now, which is awesome, but it also kind of sucks because when I think of Nicole Richie, the first thing I think of is like, oh, that spoiled brat on the real life.
Dude, and honestly, good for her. And I think it takes it back to. Did you watch the Britney Spears documentary?
I
The
haven't
newest one?
yet. I know that I need to be in like a mental place to watch
You
it.
definitely need to be in a mental place. And
Same
it's
reason why I
very-
haven't watched Woody and Mia.
Yeah.
Like it's just like I will get there.
Yeah, for
but,
sure.
But I'm just like, I need to be in that mindset where I'm like, okay, this is going to be some really difficult stuff to talk about. Like, let's just quiet
Yeah.
space, light a candle, have a cup of tea. Like, let's just dive into this,
It
get a box
was-
of tissues.
Very eye-opening of
Oh, she
how the media portrayed pop stars back then.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot. I would say, even though, like, we are more involved in the lives of stars nowadays with Twitter and other social media, the way the media, like, steered the narrative back in the day is awful and
That-
horrendous.
it was really bad, and I think that it was at a time where we weren't nearly as understanding of these people, even though they are singing under their actual name and they're not in a movie, quote unquote, they are still playing a character.
Yeah.
And like, because I remember like it was a long time before I was like, oh, like Rob Zombie isn't like this Satanist.
He's not like like walking down the street digging through the ditches and
Yeah.
burning through the witches, bro.
Exactly. Like, it's like it took me like a long, like I was probably like at least 13, 14 when I was like, this is just a dude who likes the same stuff that I do
Yeah.
and figured out a way to like create a
He's
character.
like, oh, he's just a bearded vegan really into 70s exploitation.
Like, it's like exactly like it was a very surreal transition. All of those pop stars, NSYNC, Britney Spears, they were all caught up in this moment where it was like, this is the image that you have and that is who you are as a person and you cannot be anything other than that. And like, if you break from that, we will fucking bury you.
And we as a society at that point, late 90s, early 2000s, fed off of that controversy.
We loved it.
We fed off that controversy. And it's the same thing today. It's just less celebrities, and now it's more like strictly reality shows about quote unquote normal people.
Yeah.
Like the people on that 90 Day Fiance, the 6,000 Pound Life, or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
like,
I
mean,
it's all exploitation.
Yeah,
it's always, and it always
exactly.
has been. But you also have like, I don't know, you watch those. So like I watched a bunch of 90 Day Fiance and it's fine.
Yeah.
But like, it's not like, I don't know. I'd much rather watch a competition show. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I'd much rather watch, I could sing the praises of this a million times. Everyone else has already done it, so there's no reason to go on a huge tangent. But like something like Great British Baking Show, where it is literally just wholesome people who love to cook, and they're all there supporting each other, and it's just love and good times and competition, and like that is a show that makes me feel good when I watch it. Versus 90 Day Fiance, where I'm watching it and I'm like, like you're just cringing and you're like, oh, this is so bad. Do you not realize that this person's terrible for you? Like, it's I'd rather watch good people do good things together than watch bad people be toxic to each other.
And I think there's a place for that. Like every Thursday night, I'm sitting with Taylor watching Floribama Shore on MTV. But I can also sit there and watch it and like, and I think everybody understands this at this point, is while this is quote unquote reality TV, these people are playing characters.
Well, and I think the biggest reason for that, and I've talked about this with a friend before, but like Jersey Shore really changed a lot.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, a lot of these shows, it's one season and then the person's gone.
Yeah.
But Jersey Shore, we hung out with these people for like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And we got to really know their characters. But then when the show is over and you got to see like, oh,
they're regular people.
they're regular, like you saw the situation deal with his drug addiction and like come out a pretty decent guy.
Yeah.
And like Pauly D just seems like the coolest dude.
Yeah.
Like I would 100%, if there was an opportunity to hang out with like Vinny or Pauly D, I would do it because they just seem like they put on like the wisecracking characters on the Jersey Shore, and there's an element of that to them.
Yeah.
But they do seem like they are dudes who like are actually very much the opposite of the toxic masculinity that like you think of with the Jersey Shore, because they're very like openly emotional with each other and like are all about their bromance. And I love that we are in a place, as like a guy who is always emotional from like the beginning of his life, we are in such a better place where it is a-okay to show like strong male friendships where like they love and cry and care about things. Like that's amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, I kind of going back to what you're saying, where most of these shows are one and done season, move on to the next group of people. With Floribama Shore, which is obviously a take on the Jersey Shore, I just started watching this season because, like, I mean, I was in a place before where I was like, trash TV.
Yeah.
Huh.
There's a place
There's
for it.
definitely a place for it.
I mean, there's days where I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to watch a whole season of Vanderpump Rules and just be like, these people are terrible.
But I'll watch it, and there's one character or one person specifically on that show, Gus, who I'm watching right now, and I'm like, this guy is just the biggest shithead. He's such an asshole. But Taylor, who's been watching it for 4 years now, like we're in the 4th season, she's like, he's been through a lot.
Yeah.
Like you really need to like
calm down.
Kind of watch his kind of arc from where he is. And it's hard to do that because this is all I'm seeing.
That's all you're saying. But no, and that's like the benefit of that.
Yeah.
I've said the only reality show that I'd ever consider doing a rewatch of is the Jersey Shore.
Okay.
Because they are very different people by the time they get to season 6.
Yeah.
So it's like, I want to rewatch it knowing that character arc, knowing that like, yeah, they're in a shit place. They're on a ton of drugs right now. They're like really alcoholics, but like, we're going to get to season 6 and like the situation's going to go to rehab and like quit coke and quit quit alcohol and do a whole season just drinking water at the bar and really go out of his way to try to make up for like the shitty things that he did in these seasons. Like that is cool. That is a cool thing to see and see that growth. I want to jump back to one more thing with great news.
Oh, that's right. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
So when we were talking about Rick and Morty earlier this month, we talked about the Jerry situation.
Yes.
So Carol has a husband that we never see.
Yeah, I had
Dave.
no idea what was going on with that.
We
Like, I looked
never
at Taylor
see
and I'm
Dave
like,
in
did
the
I
show.
miss something at the end there? Because I
No.
think it's like, I don't even think it's a stinger. I think it's before the
Yeah,
credits.
it's before the credits. So we never see Dave in the show.
Okay.
But all that you know about it is that he is absolutely in love with his wife and his daughter and will do anything for them and like loves being a husband. And Carol just mistreats him constantly. So like he shows up 3 times in the episode. And all 3 times it makes me laugh. The first time is she just yells, Dave, get the saran wrap. And he's like, anything for you, honey. And then the second time
he's in hospital
he's in
bed.
the hospital and she goes, oh, I remember this year. This was the year that Dave dressed up like Santa and came down the chimney, but I forgot about the plan and lit a fire. Man, Dave really ruined Christmas that year.
But you're okay with this. Like, I feel like
I think it's
this
because
is
you
the
don't
opposite.
physically ever see him.
Okay.
Like there's no
You're
personality
kind of
to him.
removed from the situation.
Yeah, like he's
Okay.
just supposed to be there to be the butt of the jokes.
Yeah.
But then the last one with the Mrs. Because she's like, she said, someone says something about where's your dad, and she's like, he's out volunteering like he does every Christmas.
Yeah.
So at the end of the episode, it cuts to him, and he's at the soup kitchen, and he's ladling soup with Mrs. New Jersey, and she's like, hey, do you want to go get dinner? He goes, nope, I'm gonna sit in the dark and wait for my Carol to come home. Like,
Absolutely awful. And good on you, Dave,
like,
for being a
like,
good
it's
dude.
So, and I think that that's like we've talked about 30 Rock before, and 30 Rock I think is in the similar vein where you do have these characters that get shit on, but they are so not human beings in any way, shape, or form. Where like Rick and Morty, like Jerry's kind of a person. In fact, he's the most person-like person on the whole
entire
show.
cast. Yeah.
So like I think by making him this like completely faceless, anonymous punching bag, it's very different. Like it's why I didn't like with The Office, I'm blanking on his name, but the HR guy that Michael Scott is just
Toby.
Yeah. Like because Toby's like a human being.
Oh, dude, it's rough.
It makes it hard for me to watch.
Yeah.
Versus like the flip side is like Parks and Rec with Jerry. Because like Jerry literally is only there for those punchlines, but also because it's clear that like Jerry's fine with it. He's in on the joke.
And Jerry gets the comeuppance.
And
I mean, he
gets
has
the
a hot
comeuppance.
wife,
Yeah,
like 3 gorgeous daughters.
It's like a very thin line between like when it's really upsetting and when it's really funny. But I think that not ever showing Dave's face is a very smart move to like make us be able to just be like, that's not an actual thing.
Exactly. As opposed to Jerry, where there's like an entire season built around his divorce.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's rough.
It's rough. It's really not great.
So let me ask you, is this something you'll watch every Christmas from here on out now?
I think it might be because I do think that it's like similarly to the Ludachristmas episode of 30 Rock, like it actually does hit a lot of those Christmas beats that I look forward to. But I do think that it's funny enough, and also like 20 minutes, like whatever. Yeah, I mean, like sure, why not? It's something that I think that the episode is good in the sense of you can kind of watch it without knowing any of the characters or anything, and still be like, okay, I get this. Like it's funny enough on its own right that like it's a good show to bust out to show people who've never seen it, just to be like, you want to watch like a really fucking weird Christmas special. It's a bummer that the Carol stuff isn't funnier. Like the Christmas Carol stuff isn't funnier because I really think that Petey and the dad is so funny. Yeah. The one other joke that they do with the Petey and dad that I forgot about until just now is when she brings Petey to the office and he's like, oh, no, I'm not going to hang out with him. You're supposed to babysit him. And she's having a conversation, and every time it cuts back, he's further away. Like, he's like standing next to her, and then he's at the end of the office, and then he's at the top of the stairs. And he's like not even in the shot. But yeah, it's not a great show. I think I saw on Netflix it has like a 55% rating, and I'm like, that's about fair.
Yeah, I think one of the problems with the show is I think 30 Rock had that that tone nailed down perfectly. Where I
Yeah.
think that Great News has a lot of mixed tones with it, especially with specific characters. Carol being one of them. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, is she ditzy? Is she like a clean freak? Like, what?
Carol's actually the biggest problem in the episode,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
Because the difference is that 30 Rock was able to exist just being the story of Tina Fey's character.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, you didn't need a side character. It's Tina and Jack.
yeah,
This, it's like, oh, it's a mother-daughter story that's also in this world surrounded by all these characters. And I
Yeah.
think that insertion of the mother, like, I get that it was like an interesting way to do something different. You bring on like this comedic legend from the 50s to play
Yeah.
the mother and everything, but it just doesn't really work. It doesn't
I
vibe
agree.
well. The show is worth watching. It's 22 episodes. It's like, whatever, knock them out. Like, I would be legitimately shocked to meet anybody who's like, oh, Great News, my favorite show of all time. Like,
yeah.
it's like, have you seen 30 Rock? 'Cause, like,
And that's my thing is like I got through the episode and I'm like, that really made me want to watch 30 Rock.
yeah.
Like,
No, and it's 30 Rock light.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the best way to describe
Yeah.
it. I think that if they had lost a couple elements, it would have been tighter. But it's good. I mean, didn't cry.
Didn't cry.
Yeah, no tears on this
no,
couch.
but while it was a recommendation from you, I would also recommend give it a watch.
Yeah, it's
Check
not
it out.
bad. It's perfectly fine.
Check it out. Christmas
Save-
365 says 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, certified Christmas 365. Well, Merry Christmas, Dylan.
Merry Christmas, Matt.
Oh, whoa, oh, now we won't stop till the big ball drops on New Year's. Happy holiday, have a great holiday, have a merry happy holiday.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network. You're listening to the Geekscape Network.